Okay, February 25th at 6:01 p.m. We are convened as the Provo City School Board of Education, meeting at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah. And we'll begin with a roll call, and we'll start with Devin.
And Daily Business Administrator.
Lisa Boyce, Board Member.
Terry McCabe, Board Member.
Gina Hales, Board Member. Board Vice President.
Jennifer Partridge, Board President.
Wendy Dow, Superintendent.
Sorry, I'm nervous. Meg Van Wagenen, Board Member.
Emily Harrison, Board Member.
Melanie Hall, Board Member.
Monica Tuona, Student Board Member.
Hutch Wallace, Student Board Member.
Okay, thank you. And we want to welcome all of our guests with us tonight. Do we have a motion to start our business meeting?
I move that we begin the business meeting.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hills. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in our business meeting. And I need to move my agenda here. Okay, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Hutch Fale, one of our student board members, will lead us in that.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, tonight we are going to begin with public input. And then after the public input, we are going to have a public hearing regarding the issuance, of some bonds. And so the first public input will be specific to anything not about the bonds, and then we will go to the hearing for the bonds and take public input on those items there. So, all right, so I'm just going to look through, and if there's anyone else who does want to give public input that hasn't turned in their paperwork yet, you feel free to take care of that as we go here. Okay, so first we'll invite up Cami Larson, and if you'll just, when you get to the podium, just state your name and the elementary boundary in which you live. So come on up.
Okay, my name is Cami Larson, and I live in the Amelia Earhart boundary. First, I want to say thank you for all of the work you do, the long hours you put in for the betterment of the students in our district. It is deeply appreciated. My purpose in talking to you today is to ask that you please not move Ryan McCarty as principal from Amelia Earhart Elementary. The email last week announcing that he will be moved to a different school next year felt shocking and out of nowhere, followed by feelings of deep worry for the students. There were no explanations or reasons given, just assumptions that we should be excited about the change. I represent myself and the many parents I have talked to so far in saying we are not excited. We are upset and we are worried. Just to be clear, this has nothing to do with the announced incoming principal. Her qualifications seem very impressive and like she could be a great principal. This has to do with our student population. As a Title I school, Amelia has at least 40% of our students come from households in poverty. For many of these students, the only stability they have comes from school. Mr. McCarty knows each of the over 400 students' names at our school. He knows their home situations, and he knows how to help them. He is at every school event. The kids know him, love him, and know he is a safe person they can go to when they need help. The teachers at Amelia know they can count on Mr. McCarty. He does everything in his power to get them the resources they need. They can trust him and depend on him. I know many of the teachers choose to work at Amelia specifically because of the culture he provides. Because of Mr. McCarty, our students have safe and effective teachers. One teacher said about this change, a lot of teachers at Amelia are feeling pretty anxious and hurt right now. We don't understand why the change just for the change's sake. If there is clarity on the move, it may make us feel better, but there's been no answer. Even assuming the new principal is wonderful, this will set all of Amelia's progress back. So it feels ridiculous that they are changing principals just to change. The faculty here have developed a true sense of family, and because of this, we feel so unsettled knowing that someone can just walk in and completely rip out the rug from under us. The community and staff will feel the impact of this change for a while, and that is devastating. It's made some of us question if this is even a district we want to stay in, if this is how things are going to be done. I agree with this teacher's words. In the years it would take to develop new relationships, new ways of doing things, and new traditions, our at-risk students will slip through the cracks. Our programs that so beautifully cater to the different levels of learning and needs, but are so tricky to keep afloat with undependable funding, need Mr. McCarty's expertise. In my 5 years of knowing Mr. McCarty, I've only ever heard of him wanting to stay at Amelia Earhart. There is so much more to be done for the students here. Please don't make us start over. Please let him stay. I understand that every elementary school in the district would benefit from having him, but please, let's not move so many leadership roles around. Let him stay where he is and be the example to new leadership where it is needed. I know of many emails being sent to the district right now, particularly to Terry McCabe, our area representative. I ask all the board to look at these emails and take them seriously. For the parents who are sharing their experiences on why they need Mr. McCarty to stay, and for all the students who don't have the parents able to be as involved. Please do not remove Ryan McCarty from his position as principal at Amelia Earhart Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you, Cammie. Next, we have Brent Hutchison. And while Brent's coming up, for the people who just walked in, if you do want to make public comment tonight, there's forms in the back that you can fill out and turn in over here. So, okay, thank you, Brent.
Hi, my name is Brent Hutchison. I live in the Franklin neighborhood. My 2 children attend Franklin Elementary. Despite having the opportunity to go to Walden Charter School and the opportunity to go to Edgemont, which are also very great schools, we chose to stay in our neighborhood school because we love our community. We also recently got an email out of the blue with a bombshell saying that our Franklin School administration and all of our teachers would be changed. With no prior knowledge, no prior input, I've combed meeting minutes of the board of the past 2 years. I cannot find documentation of these discussions, despite regular progress reports from our administrators. I know you all work so hard. I thank you for that. I know you're busy and you don't have time to meet with everyone. There's so many concerns. I've lived in the Franklin neighborhood my whole life, save a few years in grad school while I was off studying sociology. I'm on the PTA as the lone male secretary and interpreter for our vivacious Spanish-speaking parents. We just earned an award at the national level, the first in Utah. We have a strong community. This email that was sent out not only to our school, but to many others, used unclear and at times inaccurate language that I am afraid was not revised or reviewed before it was sent out, saying that we have been identified in the bottom 5% of schools, as if this had just happened. This occurred, we were given CSI status in 2021. We went through 2 rounds of consultants and 2 intensive plans. I was involved in those plans. This is why I'm so invested. After the first consultants were scrapped, we started once again and have been making progress. Now, we are between 15 and 20% performing above the lowest schools, not 5%, despite not receiving the funding that we should have been getting from the state, and we don't know where that has been held up at, what level. We're losing incredible teachers who have received awards, a social worker who is no longer going to be with us, and now a cascading effect across the whole district. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brent. Is there anyone else here to give public comment on items other than the lease revenue bonds? All right, seeing none, we will close that portion of our meeting. And I do want to thank those of you who gave comment, and just know that we don't respond back and forth in our meetings, but someone will reach out to you. So thank you. Next, we have come to the portion of our public hearing to receive input with respect to the issuance of our lease revenue bonds. And we're going to begin by turning it over to our business administrator, Devin Daly, to explain what this is.
Okay, so this is an issuance of $70 million in lease revenue bonds in order to finish Timpview High School and to begin the process and the design work for the Dixon Middle School site. The bonds will create the ability to complete Timpview, which really needs to be finished with the safety issues that we have there, and be able to start that process as we decide as a board what to do with the Dixon site. Any others?
Okay, thank you for that summary. Appreciate that. And we are going to first have a hearing as a school board, and then after we do that, then we will convene as a separate entity, same people though, as the building authority, and have a hearing there as well, just so the public's aware what we're doing tonight. That's according to state law. So first, we will now hold a public hearing to receive input from the public with respect to the proposed issuance by the Municipal Building Authority of the District of Lease Revenue Bonds. Any person wishing to express his or her views on the issuance of the bonds or the facilities to be financed with the bonds can come forward now as I call your name. So if there's anyone else who would like to speak to this, make sure you please turn in your form and I will call you. And we have Heather Scabland.
Hi. My name is Heather Scabland, parent of a 6th grader at Timpanogos and an 8th grader at Walden who will be going to Timpview High School next year. I just want to express my support for the proposed lease review bond. Keeping continuity in construction of Timpview High makes both practical sense. Students ideally need to be in a completed school building as soon as possible, and I know it's been a long time, and economic sense, as construction costs are likely to continue to rise. I also just want to add that I follow many of you on social media, read and watch the weekly updates from the superintendent, and attend school board meetings when I'm able to. I haven't been as good about that as recently. So I do trust that our Provost School Board takes care, research, and thought in making difficult decisions and works to prioritize and advocate for students and teachers across our city. I also appreciate the board's expressed commitment to the Dixon site and to that neighborhood. So I just want to say thank you for all the work, often unseen, that you guys do. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. Is there anyone else here to speak in this hearing about our lease revenue bonds? All right. So now, do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of lease revenue bonds by the Municipal Building Authority of the district.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
By Vice President Hales. All right, is there anyone who'd like to speak to the motion beginning with Board Member Van Wagenen?
Yes, thanks. So I know that passing bonds can be hard, especially for constituents, taxpayers, and I just want to express that as a board member that I take this responsibility seriously and have thought a lot about this and have really appreciated our business administrator and her team and the thoughtful approach that they've taken to really be creative in the ways we can really minimize the impact it has on taxpayers. Because I think I can speak for myself that want to be aware of that and am aware of that, but I'm also aware of the commitment I have to our students here in the school district and really feel strongly that we just need to continue the construction at Timpview so we can finish that project. And I also am committed to the Dixon community and site and making that, doing something there that will serve our district needs and that community. So just wanted to speak to why I'm voting yes on the bond tonight. So
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to discuss?
I echo what Heather said and what Meg, Board Member Van Wagenen just said. I hate this part of my job. I hate it. I don't like taxes any more than anybody else. And I live in the area of town where it's difficult to pay taxes. Not that it's fun for anybody to pay taxes, but the impact is outsized on my area of town because of a lot of people on fixed incomes, and I hate this part of my job. But I also recognize that public education is very important. We need to educate. We need an educated constituency. We need to provide this education, and we need to provide it in safe buildings. Timpview is not safe. I also, my preference is to put things on a ballot. I would prefer that people approve these bonds. However, with the situation at Timpview, waiting will only make the balance go up, right? Because it has to be done. And if we wait and put it on the bond and it passes, we still have to wait. And if I'm on the ballot and it passes, we still have to then wait to issue the bonds, and it's more expensive. If we put it on the ballot and it doesn't pass, then we have to come back and do this again next calendar year, and costs just are continuing to increase. I couldn't see any way around this. And I felt that this was the most economical way to do it, and it also made the most sense to me. And also, I appreciate that we're going to honor the promises or the commitment that we have made to the Dixon community to do something constructive with that site. And it's something that I think it's not just, we're just going to do this to appease people. This is we have actual needs in the district that need to be taken care of that we can do on the Dixon and the Timpanogos sites. And so that's my reasoning for my vote.
Anyone else who'd like to speak to the motion?
I'll just,
Okay, Lisa?
I mean, I'm not going to be able to add a whole lot to what has already been said, but I do understand just how difficult this is from the perspective of a taxpayer, from the perspective of people from different parts of our community with different needs that are not insignificant, to the voice of the people. And I also would much prefer this be something on a ballot. I also know Timpview is not a safe building without this project being completed. And so if it's something that has to happen, my job to be a wise steward with taxpayers' money is to do it in the way that will have the least amount of impact financially, and that is to do it sooner. And so that's why this process is what it is. I also understand it's been very disruptive to the local community around that high school. And I think it's fair to say that most neighbors of Timpview would like construction completed. They would like enough parking for students to not be parking in front of their mailboxes and in places around that city. And for our students and our teachers' sake, I just would really love to have them get to the other side. I have to give a shout out right now to the flexibility of our students, our teachers and our administrators, and our neighbors. I have seen the best of all of those people over this process, as well as some of the pains that it's caused. And I'm really grateful for all the positivity, for the students being willing to walk a different path to their buildings. And now we're walking another path to those buildings, et cetera, to the cold hallways during particle board hallways of winter, all of that. It's just time. We have to finish that project. And so that's why I'll be voting yes today.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, go ahead and vote on this. So all in favor of the motion, go ahead and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, so now do I have a motion to convene as the Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority?
I move that we convene as the Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority of Provo City School District.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Board Member Harrison. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, So we are now convened as the Board of Trustees of the Municipal Building Authority. And we will now hold a public hearing to receive input from the public with respect to the proposed issuance by the Municipal Building Authority of the District of Lease Revenue Bonds. Any person wishing to express his or her views on the issuance of the bonds or the facilities to be financed with the bonds can come forward now. So is there anyone who would like to speak to this? All right, seeing none, we will move to the next number or portion here of the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the resolution of issuing the lease revenue bonds?
I move that we approve the resolution issuing lease revenue bonds.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Is there any discussion to the motion, starting with, well, Board Member Boyce has already spoken, but is there any other discussion on the motion?
I'll say something. One thing we don't like doing about bonds is, increasing everyone's taxes, but it's not just everyone. I'm increasing my own taxes, and when I have to explain to my very British husband how this works, then it's good practice for me. So when I have to explain it to everyone else, so yeah, my taxes are going up too.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak to the motion? Okay, I would just like to say that as we've gone out and we've done public meetings about this and talked to constituents and community members, I appreciate how many people have expressed, as was expressed in our public comment earlier, just understanding of the need that we have and the support that not only that we as a board have to be good stewards of our finances, but also of our buildings and for our students. But I think our community recognizes that as well, that this is a responsibility we have together as a community to make sure we provide those safe spaces for our students. And so I do appreciate that community support that we've received. So, all right. All in favor of the motion to approve issuing the lease revenue bonds, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. And now do I have a motion to adjourn as the Municipal Building Authority and reconvene as the Board of Education?
I move that we adjourn as the Provo City School District Municipal Building Authority and reconvene as the Provo City School District Board of Education.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. So we are now reconvened in our business meeting as the Board of Education. So before we get to our business items, we do have a few items left over from our study session that we ran out of time for. The first is our winter sports athletic report, and I'm wondering if anyone would like to give a motion to table this for our next meeting. It is not.
I move that we table this to our next meeting.
Okay. Motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Boyce. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is tabled for our next meeting. And now we will move to item K from the study session and turn it to Devin to talk about our school fee schedule.
Okay, so just so we can clarify what these school schedules mean, the fee schedules mean. What we've done is mapped it to to do both, either the new legislation that is up for vote this year or the old legislation that passed last year. Last year they passed a law that limits the amount of school fees to extracurricular and specific items in a curricular or co-curricular class. And so with the old legislation is, or if the new legislation doesn't pass, you'll see that many of the fees for the supplies for the art classes and some of the other participation fees for the co-curricular and curricular classes would be going away. Under the new legislation, there are provisions to be able to charge the non-fee classes for supplies that are used within a classroom, namely the art classes. There is also, in both ways, the provision to allow for charging for school clothing, so for the performing arts and band uniforms and those kinds of classes and that use different types of clothing or musical instrument rentals, which are on both. So we brought both of them to you because then we can get them both approved. The maximum would be the one on the right, that is if the legislation passes, and then we wouldn't have to come back to another 2 board meetings before these are passed so that we can get school started with the fees correct. So most of the fees stayed fairly similar. The point of the fee, or the point of the legislation, both of them actually, is to make sure that there is a way for schools or for kids to get through school without necessarily having to pay a fee. Now that will be dependent on what kinds of classes that they take, and there are some fees that will be required regardless. The one fee that is taken off of both, regardless of which legislation is in place, is the general required fee. That is no longer allowed to be charged at either the elementary or the secondary, either the secondary levels, the middle school or the high schools. So that will no longer be charged, but there will still be some of the regular items, clubs, extracurricular, those did not change.
All right. What questions do you have for Devin about the school fee schedule?
I also included, real quick, before I just remembered, I told Jennifer I would tell this. I added a spreadsheet into the executive content that has the spend plans for many of the programs. So if you're looking at that, that will be reflective on the website here in the next few days. We just have to change some things. For example, fundraising was considered a fee by the state up until this last year with the new legislation that passed last year. And so we don't have to report the fundraising as a fee. So if there were items that programs were being paid for completely out of fundraising, those won't show up like they did before. So Melanie.
So one of my questions are, looking at Provo High and Timpview, their maximums are different. Like, how did those get set?
They're set based on the different programs or what they run. So there are some classes that will take some of their lower grades on, or their lower level groups on some of the trips, where others don't plan that. So some of those maximums will be different. We're still in the process of working with the schools to see if we can even those out a little bit, so that there's not such a difference in some of those programs, but currently it's really sometimes in the way that the program is run.
It's sometimes based on what region they're in and how they have to travel and different pieces like that, and what those travel expenses are, and so that's why you'll see the differences in those costs.
And just to keep in mind that that's maximum. If they choose not to travel that year, then those fees will not be charged. So on the maximum, that's just so that if they do have the opportunity to travel, or that they are on their on year, they don't have to come back and ask for a fee along with the approval for the travel. The fee is already approved to be able to be charged if they chose to go on a tour. Some classes are on an every other year, but adding it one year and not adding it another year would get confusing and possibly get missed on this process.
Other questions?
I guess I'm just not clear. If I have some specific questions around a certain department at a certain school, like, what's the best way to address that?
So take a look at the spreadsheets that are in that content, and then call me, if you have any
Okay,
other
yeah.
questions.
Because there are a few of these that I thought there was a kind of a cap to what it could possibly be.
So to some of the questions that I got earlier, there's the $2,000 travel, but then they also have like a summer clinic that they'll have, or sometimes there's the clothes that they'll have that they'll only have to buy once. And so take a look at those.
Yeah. Okay. And then, but I don't want to vote to approve school fees if, I mean, I guess I
And we're
should've
not
already
approving
come-
it tonight.
Okay, good. I'm like, because some of these,
these will be posted for a month.
Concerns about, the cost, I just feel like, even if you're on a fee waiver and we're paying that, it's hard for me to justify some of those expenses.
And this is something I'd like you to really look at and ask very specific questions for over the next couple weeks, that we can get to those coaches and teachers.
Okay.
So that we can get those questions, specific questions answered. We will not approve this until the second meeting in March.
Thank you. Sorry.
You have plenty of time to look at it. No, you're
Thanks
good.
for your patience.
I had,
Go ahead, Terry.
at Independence, they have that overnight camping trip, but I don't see that here, so.
They have generally not charged a fee for it.
Okay.
That's what I'm assuming. Okay.
Any other questions tonight? Okay, and these will be posted to the website, so the public can also look at it and give their input as well?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a form that, like a click here to give input, or should they contact board members, or how, if the public has?
We could
put it on the, we could figure out a way to put it on the website and get that up so that you could put some comment on the fee schedule. That would be easy.
And
I want to say that would be easy enough to do, but that's because I'm going to make Shauna do it.
Shauna?
And then it can come to me and we can review that with each of those coaches.
Okay. Thank you. All right, that takes care of all the items we did not get to in our study session, and so we will now come back to our agenda for the business meeting, number 6 business items, and we're going to start with 6A, student travel for Provo High School.
Yeah, so this is the Provo High Ballroom team that is going to go to San Francisco, and they've done some major revising of their trip, and we talked about that in study session, so.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this trip?
I move that we approve the Provo High School ballroom trip to California as discussed in study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Harrison. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member McCabe. Any discussion on the motion starting with Board Member Harrison?
No.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next, we'll turn it over to Wendy to introduce our final approval of the 25-26 school calendar.
So we talked about this in study session. We tried to even out the days and make sure we had the comp days put into the schedule for the teachers. Tried to even out first and second semester. So
I even just glanced over and she's got A, B, handwritten. As she tried to balance that out and figure it out. A lot of hard work went into that. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the final approval of the 25-26 school calendar?
I move that we approve the final approval of the 25-26 school calendar.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to make a note that in policy committee, we've been talking about putting together a procedure around this calendaring process, and I look forward to that. It'll be good.
Great, thank you. And then also for anyone who is following along but maybe wasn't watching our previous meeting tonight, last time when we talked about this calendar, we did change the start day for school, and that stays the same with these changes.
That's correct.
So
Yep.
that part has not changed. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously, and now we will turn it over to Superintendent Wendy Dow for our administrative changes announcements.
So we sent out emails to the schools that were impacted last week we take a lot of thought as we are trying to determine the best situation for different schools. And there's a lot of discussion that goes into this. And I think it's really important for individuals to know that we look at a lot of different factors when we're making this decision. These decisions are not made lightly. These decisions are not made just because something has to happen. A lot of times there are individuals that sometimes make requests, and we try to support individuals with those particular requests, and that can sometimes impact other individuals in the process. We also try to look at the needs of the primary focus is the needs of our students, right? And what we're seeing in terms of the needs of these particular communities, and identifying our leaders and our leadership teams that are going to help our students be successful. And so there's a lot of input that goes into this. This is not a decision that our leadership team makes even in isolation. These are conversations that we do have with our board, and those do happen in closed sessions because they are dealing with personnel issues and requests and different pieces like that. So that's why you won't see those conversations in particular happen in a public setting. So I just want to announce for the public record our changes, and I did invite our new special education director to be here because I wanted him to shake your hands at the end and you get a chance to meet him since he is outside of our district. So Nate Edvilson has been selected as the new special education director. So if he'll stand and then he can come up and shake hands afterwards. Principal Mark Burge will be the new principal at Canyon Crest Elementary School. Deanna Lee will be moving to Rock Canyon as an assistant principal. Ryan McCarty will be moving to Provo Peaks as the principal. Brian Mangum will be going to Lakeview as the assistant principal. At Franklin Elementary, we will have Principal Brooke-Ann Dalby and Assistant Principal Jeanette Morera, and Lance Vandermark will be remaining there as the assistant principal. Patricia Blanton will become the principal at Amelia Earhart. Brandon Dorothy will become the new assistant principal at Sunset View, and Sean Edwards will become the new principal at Centennial Middle. With a new assistant principal, Teresa Tovar, Jeremiah Tirina will be staying at Centennial Middle School. Suzanne Parker will be moving as the new assistant principal at Provo High, and Jason Benson will be an assistant principal at Timpview High School. And Becky Robinson, who has been serving as the assistant principal at Sunset View, will be taking an assignment as our science and social studies specialist. So we're looking forward to working with each of these school communities. And we have fantastic leaders in our district, and they have amazing qualities and characteristics, and they're going to add a ton of support and help to their new school communities. So we appreciate all of the hard work that they put into everything. That's it.
All right, thank you. And that is the end of our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.